Michael Wolff's interview with the Today Show, he talked about very specific concerns and criticisms that White House staff have, including how much he lacks intellectual curiosity, okay? So let's hear from Michael Wolff himself on this issue.
You said that these senior people insult his intelligence. What are the kinds of things people would say?
They say he's a moron, an idiot. Actually, there's a competition to sort of get to the bottom line here of who this man is. Let's remember, this man does not read, does not listen. So he's like a pinball, just shooting off the side.
So again, that is another portion of his book that I think has been reinforced, like it reinforces stuff that we already knew, because we knew that Trump didn't like the intelligence briefings. We knew that people had to give him briefings in tiny little spurts because they couldn't, get his attention for long periods of time on important issues. So this book, in my opinion, just kind of reinforces those elements of Trump that we already had learned about.
Right, and I don't know if you have. I have not read the book yet. But everything I've heard about it is exactly what I expect more of when I do read it. And you'll remember he gave a press conference on repeal and replace, when he said we're going to get this done, and somebody asked him what he wants to change, and he had no clue. He hadn't read the health care bill. He didn't know what the Affordable Care Act was, other than he didn't call it that. He called it Obamacare, and that was enough for him. So that in and of itself is childlike. If you look at his entire administration, I've said it here before and I believe it, as motivated by a schoolyard spat that he had with President Barack Obama at the White House Correspondents' Dinner when he made fun of him, and he's just spending 4 years getting back at him. It's reinforced in these pages too.
Well, let me disagree with at least a part of what you just said. There's no way it's going to be 4 years.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
No, I'm kidding. So, but
I think you're right too.
This is speeding up. His demise is speeding up. Now it's become kind of irrefutable. And so I want to talk about that. When we talk about what the book says, I don't want you guys to get the wrong impression. This is not a book about Michael Wolff's opinions, right? This is a book quoting almost, you don't have to say all, but a tremendous number of people who work at the White House. He interviewed 200 people. He had access to the White House. It's not his opinion, it's what his sources, people who are closest to Trump, who work with Trump every day, say about him, okay? And to me, the most important part, sure, he's not bright, we know that, that's obvious, right? From all that you've seen, and that apparently does not bother his voters, which is telling, but he said he does not read and he does not listen. And look, we've talked about how they had to keep boiling things down from 4 pages to 1 page to tweet size and put his name in and put pictures in and all that stuff. So we kind of know, but just focus on it for a second. If you have a guy who's the most powerful man on earth, in charge of the country, President of the United States, Commander-in-Chief, and he refuses to learn anything.
Yeah.
He never worked in politics, so he doesn't know what the nuclear triad is and doesn't want to know. Anybody think he knows the difference between a Sunni Muslim and a Shia Muslim?
There's no chance.
Right, and that makes all the difference in the Saudi-Iran conflict, which is monumentally important, but he doesn't know it and doesn't want to know it and will never learn it. And he doesn't even listen, because if you're not saying the word Trump, he doesn't care. To have a person that indifferent to the fate of our country and the policies that we have is incredibly dangerous.
You want the leader of the country to make informed policy decisions, and if he's unwilling to listen to any information, then he's not going to make informed decisions. But look, all of this stuff just keeps reminding me of stories that we've done recently. So remember, the big story, I believe it was last week, was the fact that a New York Times reporter managed to get an impromptu interview with Trump. And during that interview, Trump felt the need to say that he understands all the big bills. He knows the big bills better than any former president in US history. And the fact that he felt the need to say that and mention that in the interview, I think is also telling. Like, he's obviously insecure about how much he knows about the legislation that he's touting endlessly.
It's like the kid in high school who screams out, "I'm not gay." You're like, wait, nobody asked you. Why did you say that? Or like the kid in the Oval Office who says, I have a big button, it's bigger than yours, and it definitely works, right?
Yeah.
There's something that you're obviously insecure about. Could you imagine if Obama or Clinton had said, or Reagan, right, had said, I know all the bills, I know the big bills, I know the big bills better than anyone. If you become a member of the Young Turks, you'll be saying,
you know, I'm like a smart person.
So do it right now, tytnetwork.com/join. Get the whole Young Turks show every day.